Summoners are people with the mysterious power to summon beings with spirit into the world. There are both good and bad summoners, and though they have been part of ancient legends, they have strived to remain hidden, avoiding drawing too much attention. Some families, however, firmly believe in the existence of these beings and even worship certain gods. At the same time, born under a terrible curse, a boy was marked with the blessing stone of a god, granting him a power feared by all. His life began tragically as he lost his mother at birth. As he grew, the villagers turned against him, frightened by his destructive potential. Even his father attempted to get rid of him, believing that eliminating him would keep them safe. Thus, this boy's life was one of constant torment. Other children attacked him, but one day, his powers activated instinctively, eliminating those who tried to kill him. After the incident, the entire village decided he was too dangerous. He was cast out, condemned to a solitary existence, bound to a rock in a desolate place. His life became a struggle for survival, with no hope or companionship. However, everything changed when he met Kaori, a young girl with a kind and compassionate spirit. She was the first person to offer him a small gesture of kindness, giving him food and a moment of humanity. That simple act touched his heart, and for the first time, the boy felt that someone saw him as more than a living curse. Kaori became his friend and was the only person in his life to show him affection and understanding. Over time, she began visiting him regularly, bringing food and sharing moments that became his only solace. As the boy grew, Kaori was his sole reason to endure. But the peace would not last. When a severe drought struck the village elders blamed him, accusing him of stealing the life from the land. Filled with hatred, the villagers decided to end him. Kaori tried to protect him, defending his innocence, but the villagers mercilessly attacked her, and an elderly woman, driven by scorn, stabbed her, taking her life. Kaori's death unleashed an uncontrollable fury within him. The god of the stone awakened inside him, breaking his chains. In a fit of rage and sorrow, he destroyed all those who had wronged him, wiping out the village entirely. Yet, when it was all over, the emptiness of losing Kaori was immense. Although he now had the power to devastate the entire world, all he desired was to have her back. In a final gesture of love, he offered her a flower she had once grown in the ground filled with red spider lilies, stained with the blood of those who had betrayed him. Back in the present, we meet our main protagonist Jaya, an ordinary young man who works diligently day by day, devoting himself to perfecting his famous beef ramen. His father taught him when he was young that even the gods cannot resist a good meal. But one day, his normal life is turned upside down when, as he's cooking, a vortex opens in his kitchen. From this mysterious portal, a beautiful pink-haired girl emerges, watching him with curiosity while he stands frozen, unable to understand what is happening. He's so shocked that he nearly drops his bowl of ramen, but the girl, with quick reflexes, stops it from hitting the floor and, in an instant, transforms into a miniature version of herself, even more adorable and curious, as she contentedly enjoys the ramen she just stole from him. Jaya, still bewildered, watches her, unsure of what to think. When she finishes eating, the young girl introduces herself as Dora and explains that she is a spirit he has summoned through his food. In her miniature form, Dora saves energy, as she needs plenty of sleep and twice as much food. Frightened and confused, Jaya tries repeatedly to chase her out of his home. But Dora has no intention of leaving. She explains that to free himself from her, he must sign a contract, something he has no desire to do. Determined to ignore her, Jaya heads off to school, thinking he might be able to rid himself of her. However, Dora follows him persistently. At school, he realizes he is the only one who can see her, as only other summoners could perceive spirits like Dora. She continues to insist that he sign the contract, but he keeps refusing, frustrated by the situation. As he is walking home from class, a classmate approaches him to give him a love letter. Just then, Dora interrupts, causing Jaya, already on the verge of losing his patience, to shout in frustration, scaring the girl away, who leaves in tears. Convinced that he might be able to get rid of Dora with food, he offers her a load of sweets, hoping she'll leave. But Dora isn't so easily dissuaded, and as a last resort, she decides to show him her true power. She transforms into a more powerful, complete version of herself, revealing to him how she sees the world and the powers he could gain if he signed the contract. To impress him, Dora demonstrates her abilities, and with a simple gesture, she summons a magical tree, from which appears a small cat that Dora calls Meow. With this display of power, Dora manages to capture Jaya's attention. He begins to consider that being a summoner might not be as bad as he initially thought and feels a mix of curiosity and intrigue about what this new world of summoners could offer him. Although at first, his relationship with Dora was full of rejection and distrust, the two gradually begin to form a bond. and Jaya starts to see Dora with more affection and less as a nuisance. Thus begins his adventure in this new and fantastical world. A new day brings new things to learn. Although that's the last thing Jaya is doing as Dora, his summoned spirit lounges peacefully beside him in the sun. Jaya glances at the news on a massive screen which, by the way, he has no idea why it's even there, and learns about the trouble they caused the day before, choosing to ignore Dora for the moment. However, out of nowhere, a carnivorous plant, another spirit, appears and swallows Dora, prompting Jaya to chase after the plant, worried about his companion. As the plant moves farther away, Jaya realizes that if the distance between them keeps increasing, he could lose his mental connection with Dora. Although she is powerful, she needs to be near her summoner to use her abilities. During his pursuit, Jaya faces a few obstacles. First, a child who seems to know about spirits and gives him clues. Then, he unexpectedly runs into the older brother of the girl he accidentally rejected the previous day, who happens to be a towering figure ready to punch Jaya for making his sister cry. Meanwhile, Dora continues to be dragged away until she finally decides it's time to unleash her power. With a burst of strength, she manages to free herself and defeats the carnivorous plant. Jaya arrives just in time to witness Dora emerging victorious from the fight, and together they watch the plant crawl towards a mysterious girl, tall, pale-skinned, dressed in a school uniform with long, subtly colored hair. The girl exudes an air of elegance and power, as if she were a goddess or someone of high status. The girl seems to understand the situation, and with a haughty demeanor, she walks off towards the headmaster's office, who happens to be her grandfather. Apparently, he is aware of everything that goes on with spirits and summoners and exerts a certain control over them. After a brief conversation in which the headmaster reminds her she has failed in her mission, she leaves and heads to her classroom, captivating everyone she passes with her imposing presence. Before she goes, she leaves a letter and a black rose on Jaya's desk, surprising his classmates, who can't understand how someone like her would be interested in him. When his classmates open the letter in front of him, they discover that the girl is inviting him to meet her in the forest that very afternoon. Curiosity gets the better of him, and Dora, still annoyed from her encounter with the plant, also shows interest in going. After classes end, the two of them head towards the forest, with some of Jaya's classmates attempting to follow them. However, gradually, the tree branches begin to block their path, as if the forest itself wants only the invited to enter. As they proceed, Jaya and Dora arrive at a field filled with black roses, where the girl awaits them with her own spirit, ready to challenge Jaya. The girl demands that Jaya hand over Dora, but although he initially wanted to get rid of her, he has grown fond of her and is not willing to let her go. Provoked by the mysterious girl, Jaya decides to confront her. With the powers Dora grants him, he quickly begins to adapt, using strikes and abilities he's only just discovering. The battle intensifies, with powers unleashed everywhere, and at one point, the girl summons a giant tree that she wields as a weapon, making the fight even more exciting. The tree attempts to punch Dora, who is momentarily distracted, but she reflexively dodges. The tree quickly resumes its pursuit, and finally manages to knock down its target. At this point, Jaya and Dora decide to work as a team, unleashing powers within Jaya he didn't know he had. After a hard-fought battle, Jaya manages to defeat the massive tree, and Dora, determined not to lose, prepares to deliver the final blow to the mysterious girl. While Dora attempts to strike, Jaya stops the attack, defending the woman. Dora is taken aback and asks why he spared her. Jaya replies that, firstly, he has no intention of becoming a villain, and secondly, he points behind her. The girl, named Hannah, then explains that he did well not to attack her. Neither she nor her carnivorous plant are malicious. In fact, they are guardians of the city, responsible for keeping an eye on summoners and their spirits to prevent disasters. Understanding the situation better, Jaya invites Hannah and her spirit over for dinner at his home, and both accept. During the meal, Hannah takes the opportunity to speak with Jaya in private. She assures him that he himself is not a concern. What truly worries her is Dora. Despite the oddness of it, considering that Dora appears so sweet, Hannah hands him a black rose as a symbolic warning, a reminder that she will be watching him closely before departing. After this rather strange encounter, we see a scene of a village ablaze, with a girl named Mayao shouting to her brother Hart, begging him not to abandon her. This girl turns out to be a summoner with abilities to control animals, and she has unleashed all the creatures from a zoo, creating chaos in the city. Realizing the emergency, Jaya and Dora look for a way to intervene as the rest of the city takes cover from the attack. Animals of all sorts are rampaging through the streets, with the school being one of the places hit hardest. At first, Jaya seeks shelter, but Dora stops him and confronts him with a hard truth. He is now a summoner and must take responsibility for protecting citizens and stopping disasters caused by other spirits and their summoners. Right in the middle of the chaos, Mayao reappears, accompanied by a small cat, the very same one Jaya had met earlier. While Jaya tries to protect a girl who seems to have been caught up in the stampede, Dora reveals the truth. This girl is actually the summoner responsible for the attack. Just then, Hannah arrives with Greenball, and they join forces to confront her, sparking an intense battle amidst the stampede. The girl, with her animal abilities, displays remarkable speed and strength, mimicking the qualities of each animal she controls, making her a formidable opponent. During the fight, Jaya realizes that simply fighting won't solve the situation, and they decide to cover it as a journalist might, though. Presumably, they'll eventually have to intervene to prevent things from escalating. With Dora's help, he tries to find common ground and uses his abilities to calm both summoners. It is then that he discovers something astonishing. The cat accompanying Hannah, named Mayao, is also a spirit with summoning powers. This reveals that any being with spiritual energy, even an animal, can become a summoner. By managing to halt the battle with a power he calls the Soul Shackles, Jaya and Dora convince the summoner that dialogue is the better path. With this intervention, Jaya begins to gain a clearer understanding of his role as a summoner and the responsibility that it entails. Though he still has doubts, he starts to accept the bond he shares with Dora and the mission to protect peace in his city, ensuring that other spirits and summoners don't cause trouble. Hannah tells Jaya that he has chosen the wrong aliases and that he will soon realize everything. Then she leaves. Later, the three of them share a dinner at Jaya's house. During the evening, Mayao talks to them about the spiritual world and how the rules work in the animal kingdom when you are an invoked spirit. Through this conversation, the young girl reveals that her attack was not driven by malicious intent. She was simply seeking her brother's attention desperately, as he had abandoned her. Jaya and Dora help her understand her feelings and offer their support to find a less destructive way to cope with her loneliness. Through games and conversation, they all enjoy a peaceful, pleasant night together while her brother Hart watches from above. The next day, someone knocks on the door and Jaya is obliged to attend a formal dinner with Hannah, her spirit, and Mayao. Though he finds the idea unappealing and considers it dangerous, he agrees, and soon they are taken by a luxurious helicopter to a grand mansion. Upon arrival, Hannah and her spirit greet them, showing them the expansive gardens and introducing them to the spirits working there. Upon entering the mansion, Jaya notices an imposing statue of a goddess, about which little information has been revealed so far. However, he feels an inexplicable connection with the statue, as if it were calling to him or recognizing him. Though puzzled by the sensation, he follows Hannah to the dining room, where they are greeted by the school's headmaster and Hannah's grandfather, Harland, who is also the leader of the Black Rose family. Harland welcomes them and begins explaining how the world of summoners operates. He tells them that, in this universe, there have been long wars and divisions between two factions, the Watchers and the Destroyers. The Watchers prefer to let nature take its course, whereas the Destroyers are willing to fulfill their desires at any cost, even if it means invasion or destruction. The choice between light and darkness, between good and evil, will always be present for summoners. Harland asks Jaya about his stance, reminding him of the importance of choosing a path. Jaya, recalling the few moments he had with his parents, mentions that they taught him to avoid involvement with mafias or dangerous situations. Surprised, Harland replies that he knows Jaya's parents left him alone many years ago, which piques Jaya's curiosity even more. Despite the tension, Harland acknowledges that Jaya is not a bad person and invites him to stay at the mansion to share all the knowledge he can. The dinner seems to end calmly, but a dark, menacing spiral begins to form in the sky, similar to when Dora first appeared but now with a more sinister aura. Harland, alarmed, immediately senses the danger and watches as a stone monster known as Ruthless, a destroyer, descends from the sky to invade the area. This event does not appear to be a coincidence. Several unsettling elements, such as the presence of a blood moon, crows, and a strong fluctuation of spiritual energy, suggest that something sinister is afoot. Harland urges the young people to step back, as they might hinder the battle. As they descend the stairs, Jaya and Hannah observe the destruction caused by the destroyer, and soon discover that he is not the only enemy present. A blonde girl armed to the teeth appears amidst the combat. mercilessly firing at the spirits and energetic beings within the mansion. The atmosphere grows increasingly hostile, and tension mounts as she engages in a fierce fight with Hannah, unleashing a battle that will test her strength and skills. Meanwhile, Mayao stands stunned as she spots a distant figure that might be her brother. Mayao is alarmed to see her brother among the attackers, now allied with the destroyers. Without a word, he decides to attack his own sister. Despite the confusion, Jaya and Dora try to defend Mayao but soon encounter another destroyer. This enemy pulls Jaya into what seems to be a dream featuring his mother, which quickly turns into a terrifying nightmare. Jaya loses consciousness, and Dora attempts to wake him while the intense battle continues in the mansion. Harlan fights fiercely against stone monsters, facing the invaders without rest. Hannah, meanwhile, battles the blonde girl, but things take a turn for the worse when a third attacker arrives, outnumbering them and leaving Hannah gravely injured. As more destroyers appear, the situation becomes even more chaotic. A young woman with a ninja-like appearance attacks Hannah, slashing her neck with a katana. Fortunately, Harlan acts quickly and manages to close the wound just in time. However, the battle is relentless, and while Harlan focuses on protecting Hannah, a destroyer and a crow take advantage of his lowered guard to strike. The blonde girl delivers a final blow to Grandpa Harlan, leaving him seriously wounded. Amid the chaos, a burst of energy and spirits erupts in the castle, as Harlan won't surrender so easily. However, in the end, the destroyers manage to subdue him, and a mysterious destroyer resembling a reaper deals a finishing blow, leaving Harlan out of action. Dora and the plant, witnessing the devastation, are left stunned and powerless. At dawn, heavy rain falls over Jaya's house, while the news reports that Grandpa Harlan and his companions have disappeared. At home, Jaya and the others search for solutions. Despite his frustration, Jaya finds a page or blog where summoners share information and experiences. In a recent video, he manages to watch the battle from the previous night. With the intuition that the person behind the blog might be able to help, Jaya discovers that the author will be at a book signing. They decide to seek her out, hoping she can provide some clues. Hannah, still weakened, remains at home under the care of her spirit, Greenball, while Jaya, Mayao, and Dora head to the signing. They arrive and spot a young blonde woman with glasses, dressed in a modern style and surrounded by technological devices. She is the blog author, and although she set up her table for the signing, few people seem interested in her work, except for Jaya and his group, who watch her attentively from a prudent distance. Jaya, disguised or rather, wearing a face mask to appear like an interested customer, approaches to try to get more information. However, the girl, named Stan, quickly sees through his intentions and realizes who he is. They both decide to cut to the chase, and she begins to demonstrate her special ability, a gift that allows her to use mobile phones and technology in an advanced way. While it may sound minor, it proves to be quite powerful and intriguing, particularly due to the sheer amount of information she can gather. As she talks to Jaya, Stan reveals that there were not 5 destroyers in the attack the previous night, but 7, which radically changes his perception of the battle. She shows him her alert systems, capable of detecting her enemies and activating in response to any potential threat. Suddenly, an alarm goes off, detecting an unknown projectile rapidly approaching. Stan explains to Jaya that practically anyone could be after her, from the Italian mafia and Mexican cartels to the CIA, due to her ability to collect information. At that moment, 4 robots of unknown origin appear, chasing them at high speed. Feeling cornered, Jaya, Mayao, and Dora leap over a railing, landing on top of a vehicle, which speeds off as they try to escape from danger. In the end, it turned out the car they were traveling in wasn't driving itself. Stan was skillfully controlling it from his mobile phone, but their pursuers were still on their tail. These were mechanical spirits sent by the destroyers, who had tracked them down after detecting that Stan was attempting to hack their servers. In response, Dora returned to her full form and, alongside Mayao, managed to bring down one of the robots. However, there were still 3 left, and the car was struggling to hold up under the strain. Jaya quickly decided to take action, deploying his own shield to protect himself and his friends. It appeared as though he was charging directly at the enemies, but his real intention was to blow up the bridge, causing both the vehicle and their pursuers to fall. As they descended, Dora activated her wings to cushion the impact and protect her companions from the fall. Upon hitting the ground, the mechanical spirits immediately surrounded them, and the situation seemed desperate. Dora was on the verge of giving up when suddenly, a lorry appeared out of nowhere, crushing one of the robots and temporarily breaking the encirclement. Everyone recognized that this was Stan's doing. The enemies resumed their attack, and Stan activated the combat mode of his lorry, which quickly wiped out the remaining robots with ease. However, in the midst of the fight, Stan's own robot exploded, causing his wig to fall off. It was then that the group realized Stan was actually a boy from the school festival who had been hiding his identity. He explained that he was afraid of being judged, but his new friends reassured him that he had nothing to worry about. They then invited him to officially join their group. As the day ended and the situation came under control, Stan took them to his mobile fortress, a quirky van outfitted with an impressive array of technology, decorated with posters of wafers and packed with valuable data. Among the information he shared, one troubling point stood out. The destroyer's activity had significantly increased since Dora's arrival. This did not seem to be a coincidence. As they tried to understand the connection, Stan asked Dora about her memories, but she realized that a large portion of them were sealed. When she tried to recall, all she got was a severe headache, suggesting that someone or something had blocked her memory. Knowing they needed more answers, the group decided to return to the ruins of the castle where they had fought. There, with the help of Stan's technological skills, they were able to review footage from the Black Rose family's security cameras and obtain partial identifications of the destroyers present during the attack. Using his mobile phone, Stan managed to trace and show them the sequence of events that had unfolded during the battle. The data revealed that several of the destroyers had code names: a blonde girl skilled in weapons and explosives known as Flame, another girl wielding a katana called Shadow, Mayao's brother known as Raven, and the Reaper, the leader of the destroyers, who possessed the terrifying ability to absorb not only spirits but also human souls. The other destroyers included names like Sin, Heart, Dream, and Space. These were the 7 responsible for defeating and causing Harlan's disappearance. Shortly afterwards, they discovered that the reasons behind the attack might be linked to the summoner, and that the target could be sealed beneath the mansion. During the destruction of the place, they managed to find a crucial clue: a trail of liquor with a distinct aroma and the trace of a rare flower called radiata, which grew in only very specific locations. With this lead in hand, the group prepared for their next mission, hoping it would bring them one step closer to understanding who the destroyers really were and the true connection between Dora and those spirits. The search continued, and they were getting closer to uncovering the truth behind these mysterious enemies and their dark motives. The team aimed to reach the stone forest. Along the way, Jaya prepared a delicious meal for everyone. The girls enjoyed it so much that they began to chat more personally. The conversation turned to Jaya's life, where he shared a bit about the absence of his parents, piquing Dora and Mayao's curiosity. Dora tried to cheer him up, and Mayao, intrigued, asked him about his own life. Dora confessed that she had always been alone and, mysteriously, couldn't remember anything about her past. Stan decided to scan Dora and discovered that, although her memories were intact, they seemed to be sealed by some sort of block. The revelation was shocking, but with no time to fully process it, they arrived at the point where they had to continue on foot, as driving became impossible. As they walked, they stumbled upon an abandoned village, with Jaya feeling uneasy, for there wasn't a soul in sight. Stan mentioned an urban legend about this village: any passerby who went through there would mysteriously vanish. While they joked about the story, they spotted a field of flowers behind some rocks, and in the midst of the flowers, a small house from which emerged a villager who seemed calm and carefree, smiling as he tended to the flowers. The group was surprised to see someone living there, especially since Stan hadn't found any information about him, and there was no signal in the area. As they observed, Jaya decided to approach the elderly man. Dora and the others followed, and though the man seemed not to notice them at first, he soon showed kindness and welcomed them to his home. The elderly man offered them drinks and food, and after a while of conversation, he shared how he'd spent years cultivating those flowers to make the place bloom again. Suddenly, a strong windstorm began to blow, and the old man started to mumble incoherently, until he shouted, clearly distressed that the storm might destroy his flowers. Without warning, he ran into the field amidst the gale, desperately protecting his flowers. Stan, upon completing his scan, realized that this man was, in fact, the Stone Spirit, an entity connected with the destroyers. At that moment, the old man began to transform into a powerful figure, calling for help and saying it's coming, as if referring to an external or unknown force. The battle then began. Mayao attempted to attack him, and so did Dora, but they quickly realized that the spirit's skin was so tough that none of their attacks could harm him. The situation seemed dire, so Dora asked Stan and Jaya to buy some time to devise a new plan. Stan, aware they had little time, prepared a strategy and told them they could only hold out for 3 minutes. Stan decided to play with the Stone Spirit's mind. He began to provoke him, mentioning all the disturbing details he'd uncovered about him, including his dark past and a multiple personality disorder. Stan's words started to unsettle the spirit, making him vulnerable, but the spirit retaliated with a powerful roar that dispelled the shadow clones that had appeared and shook the ground beneath the flowers. As the earth moved, the group noticed something horrifying. The field was filled with corpses, likely of the village's former inhabitants, who had disappeared at the hands of the stone spirit. With the time Stan had bought, Jael launched his attack. However, none of his attacks seemed to have any effect, until he managed to strike the stone spirit's energy core directly with a dagger, burying it deeply. With this final blow, the stone spirit was finally defeated. When the group finally found the man, they saw him lying on the ground, transformed once again into the villager he once was, surrounded by the remains of the destruction. With his last strength, the old man warned them, things will only get worse. Using his final moments as a human, he began to recount his tragic story. Since he was a child, he had been possessed by malevolent spirits, like parasites devouring his flesh and brain. The villagers always saw him as a monster. They judged him, exiled him, and chained him, abandoning him to his fate in the mountains. To survive, he ate stones until one day, a kind-hearted girl took pity on him and offered him some food. From then on, she visited him every day, trying to brighten his life and help flowers grow in that barren place. Although the land seemed infertile, one day, on one of the man's stone arms, a beautiful flower bloomed. Thus began a secret and inseparable friendship between them. Over time, the situation in the village worsened, and the man was blamed for all the misfortunes. When the villagers discovered that the girl had helped him for 8 years, they punished her severely. She was beaten, and a woman even denounced her as an accomplice of the monster. For him, it was the last straw. The malevolent spirits within him awakened, unleashing an uncontrollable fury that resulted in the village's massive destruction. The villagers disappeared, and their bodies underground transformed the soil into fertile land, giving rise to the field of flowers the group now saw. With the chaos he had caused, the destroyers arrived and proposed a deal. They would allow him to live as a normal human, but when he lost control, he would have to join them and bring destruction with him. In the center of his chest, instead of an energy core, the man bore a seal implanted by the destroyers to keep his evil nature contained. However, that seal broke at that moment, and the peaceful villager disappeared, giving way to the monster within. The destroyers, noticing the change, began to gather their forces to face him, but sin wasted no time and began to consume the man, turning him into a walking corpse. Now, the battle was against an almost indestructible spirit, but the group did not give up. The battle commenced. Although Sin was strong, he was also clumsy, but their attempts at attack were useless, as this monster had a very tough body. Jaya fought with all his might but eventually collapsed unconscious. Seeing her companion in that state, Dora experienced a surge of memories that had previously seemed sealed. By completely unlocking these memories, Dora appears to be reborn, revealing a different and powerful version of herself. A dark aura surrounded her, and a pair of horns emerged from her head. With renewed power, she summoned a rain of swords so powerful that it left Sin weakened on the ground. Finally, she launched a massive blade from the sky, putting an end to Sin once and for all. After the fight, Dora remained standing, her energy drained but victorious. Jael looked at her in awe, seeing in her a nearly divine figure, as if she were a goddess. The battle had left everyone exhausted, but the important thing was that they were alive. In the end, the destroyers found the lifeless body of the man who had once been the villager. In a symbolic gesture, they placed a peace symbol on his body, as if they understood the tragedy he had endured. However, they now had a new purpose, to avenge their fallen comrade and seek justice against those responsible for the villagers' suffering and the devastation he had caused. While our heroes traveled in the Waifu Mobile, most of them severely injured, an energy fluctuation alarm began to sound. Before they could react, they were attacked. The destroyers had found them. Shadow, one of the rival group's members, drew his katana and used his skill, Shadow Blade, slicing the vehicle in two with a single strike. The battle began immediately. Hart, another destroyer, had his sights set on Mayao and Stan, who managed to shoot back, but only Dora and Jaya emerged unscathed from this initial attack. In the midst of the chaos, Jaya was gravely wounded, and as his strength faded, his eyes slowly closed. The last thing he saw was Mini Dora, the small version of Dora, before appearing in a strange space as if suspended in a limbo filled with infinite possibilities. Bewildered, Jaya did not understand where he was or what was happening until a hooded man appeared. The mysterious man explained that Jaya was in a temporal rift, and in the timeline in which he had lived, everyone, including Jaya, had perished. However, the man offered him an opportunity. He could return him to the past, just 3 minutes before the attack, giving him a chance to change his fate. Stunned, Jaya watched as the man removed his hood, revealing that he was his father. Before disappearing, his father asked him to try again and promised to wait for him at the Forge of Destiny. Suddenly, Jaya awoke at the very moment his friends were being attacked. precisely 3 minutes before their fateful end. Without losing a second, he told the girls to follow his instructions. Together, they set a trap for the destroyers by planting a bomb. They managed to switch vehicles, and although they were battered, they were all unharmed and able to continue their mission to rescue Hannah. Wasting no time, they put the new vehicle into full speed towards Hannah's house. Upon arrival, they discovered that she wasn't there, but she had left a black rose and a letter indicating that she would wait for them at the Forge of Destiny. As they advanced, the destroyers continued to pursue them. But this time, Stan had an unexpected resource, the Black Rose family helicopter, equipped with stealth technology. They activated it and headed towards the Forge of Destiny, a mythical place where every summoner had to undergo a trial to become stronger. Stan estimated they would arrive in 7 hours, and thus they continued their journey. Upon arrival, they found themselves in an awe-inspiring place, with beauty reminiscent of a tropical paradise. However, to reach their final destination, they had to navigate zones of fog, whirlpools, and tornadoes that only experienced summoners could bypass. After much effort and a journey that left them completely dizzy, they managed to cross the final barrier and finally glimpse their destination. Just as they were about to land, a strange energy tore through the air and caught them off guard. It was then that the same girl with the katana who had attacked them previously reappeared and unleashed another fierce fight. Determined to face her, Stan transformed the helicopter into a combat robot, and alongside Jaya and Dora, they began launching attacks from different flanks. Flame also arrived, firing shots, and the battle grew increasingly intense. However, the robot did not hold up for long, and they all ended up falling to the ground on the island of the Forge of Destiny. Barely managing to get back up, the destroyers appeared, and the tension mounted as if another battle was about to erupt. But at that moment, a mysterious girl dressed as a rabbit named Bonnie arrived, firmly and authoritatively interrupting them, informing them of the many rules they had broken at the Forge of Destiny. Unlike the others, she did not seem afraid of anyone present. In fact, she made it clear that in that place, everyone was equal, regardless of whether they were good or bad, as all were summoners under the same rules. Bonnie begins by explaining how the Forge works, a place filled with rules and challenges for summoners. While some were already veterans who knew how to navigate it, others needed guidance. Additionally, the veterans were tasked with helping the newcomers adapt. Meanwhile, the rest of the group heads to the registration plaza, where they encounter a peculiar merchant. This character, wearing a red hat and accompanied by a massive chameleon, offers them transport, food, and clothing. Though it seems free, there's a clear warning that everything has a price. Along the way, the merchant shares the history of the Forge, a site that has existed for thousands of years. Long ago, the Watchers and the Destroyers, two groups in constant conflict, created the Forge as a neutral territory. It is a safe space, free from wars, where fights can only occur in the combat arena. Any other form of confrontation is prohibited. Once at the registration plaza, the group meets Bonnie, who introduces them to the Forge's arena. Here, there is no division between good and evil, everyone is a summoner, and each person must prove their skills to advance. To enter, there are 4 doors, each designed for a type of participant with certain qualities. The first door is the Door of Wealth. Those who pass through here are often experts at obtaining resources, and it's rumored that some have done so by robbing banks. The second door is the Door of Beauty, accessible only to those who are physically attractive. Dora, transformed into her full and dazzling form, helps open this door, though some members of the group are left out for not meeting the criteria. Nevertheless, they decide to try their luck with the third door, the Door of Strength. Here, Mayao, inspired by her spirit animal, surpasses the strength meter and enters with ease, almost like an invincible warrior. Finally, the merchant explains that the fourth door is for the famous or infamous, those recognized for their skills or fame. Those who do not fit any of the door's criteria simply cannot participate in the Forge. In the Forge, there are summoners from all over, both veterans and newcomers. Many manage to advance only up to the first 5 floors, while others, like Dora, are determined to reach the 100th floor. The Forge is structured in floors with a checkpoint every 10 levels. If they fail any challenge, they must return to the last checkpoint they reached. The first challenge they face takes place in an apparently cozy hotel. However, the veterans warn the newcomers about the deceptiveness of this trial. The comfortable rooms and food are traps to distract them from their mission. While some of the group is relaxing, bathing and eating, they notice a huge television broadcasting a special Forge channel. Bonnie appears on the screen as a host, displaying the week's progress and rankings. The name Hannah stands out on the list, and rather than discouraging the group with her position, she inspires them to work even harder. The veterans warn the newcomers about the first challenge, overseen by a high-level summoner. They mention that the person managing the trial used to be a man, But the atmosphere always remained mysterious, with rumors that the trial could change at any moment. Although the group's arrival at the hotel seems calm at first, things take a turn when night falls, and the rooms suddenly lock. They soon discover that each room is equipped with traps, and their only way out is to use their powers to overcome each challenge. Dora, switching to her clever mode, asks Jaya for a master key to unlock the doors and escape. Meanwhile, Mayao displays her creativity by transforming into a giant cockroach, allowing her to slip past the traps. Her friend Stan, on the other hand, crawls through the ventilation shafts in an attempt to reach the exit. Just as they start making progress, the summoner in charge of the trial finally appears and gives them a direct but unsettling instruction. They must find the exit and survive the hotel's maze of traps. They don't have much time, so rushing becomes their only option. The situation worsens when a section of the hotel starts to shake, and the floor crumbles beneath them. Dora, Jaya, and other teammates work hard to save trapped participants, narrowly rescuing some. The traps grow increasingly extreme: explosions, laser wires, and labyrinths designed to keep them inside. Through teamwork and determination, they navigate a series of dangerous obstacles until they finally reach a door covered with warning signs, which they decide to ignore and force open. Upon crossing the door, they come face to face with Renault, the floor's examiner. Out of the many who started the trial, only 30 made it this far. Fortunately, not everything is tense. At the end of each floor, the summoners receive surprise chests as rewards, which may contain money, diamonds, or even unexpected items like old boots. After a final effort and a closing explosion, the group descends to the second floor, where Bonnie awaits them with a smile and a lighthearted joke to help them relax after the intense trial. Bonnie informs them of the next challenge, a race on a special track. The goal is simple: they must complete 20 laps to pass the test. But there's an extra condition. It's not just about being the fastest, they can also win by eliminating opponents. Thus, the race begins, with Mayao taking the lead thanks to her animal powers. Jaya and Dora follow a bit behind, joined by other participants who take advantage of their special abilities and secret weapons acquired during their experiences in the forge. Stan, always daring, even manages to seize a missile, which he claims he stole from the United States government, using it as his secret weapon in the race. Meanwhile, the Destructors, always seeking an advantage, continue scheming and seem to be working on something new. They've acquired a monstrous creature they're reserving as a surprise for Jaya and his friends in the upcoming rounds. Meanwhile, the race intensifies as each participant looks for ways to gain every possible advantage. Between strategies and fierce competition, the summoners face the race with both intensity and caution, knowing that any mistake could cost them the trial and potentially their place in the forge. Each participant advances in their own way, some relying on speed, others on strength, and some on more unconventional tactics. Yet, they all share the common goal of surviving the trial and reaching the next level, knowing only the best will make it to the higher floors and claim the glory of legendary summoners. However, some competitors soon begin to show signs of frustration. Remembering that the only rule is to stop others from winning, several resort to unconventional tactics to secure victory. Those falling behind start to create chaos on the track, and alliances between friends dissolve in seconds. The situation becomes even more dangerous when some release a cloud of poison on the track to block their rivals' progress. At that moment, Mayao and a new friend step in to save the other competitors, pulling them out of the danger zone. Meanwhile, a samurai loses control and begins attacking his teammates mercilessly. Stan and another competitor, known as the mangaka, join forces to stop the samurai. This mangaka turns out to be Hiro. After this episode of chaos and betrayal, the race finally resumes and returns to fair competition, much like the Destructors have faced since they formed. Elsewhere, on the island of the Forge, some of the girls find a television. Excited, they take it back to their hideout to use it and discover more about the competitions in which the others are participating. They see that, besides the race, there are other trials where they need to prove their skills. Some trials, like a cooking battle, turn out to be a fun spectacle, with the powerful ramen nets winning effortlessly. A karaoke contest also appears, along with other more relaxed events. However, the girls' calm is interrupted when Flame arrives at the hideout and reminds them that the Forge is a mandatory trial for all summoners. He warns them that, even though they haven't participated yet, they'll soon be sent to the Forge to complete the trial they're missing. Furthermore, their boss has a little gift reserved for Ajay, one of the characters, and makes it clear that their next mission will be challenging. Meanwhile, in the Forge, a darker scenario is unfolding in secret. Bonnie, with a hidden camera, films some summoners who seem to be involved in mysterious rituals. One of them encounters a tube of spiritual energy and descends to the lower levels of the Forge, about 100 floors down. where he deposits the energy into a special slot. There, in front of a figure surrounded by chains, an enigmatic character is revealed, the goddess Pandora. It appears that the summoners have been feeding her energy to keep her contained, although there is hope that one day Pandora will awaken and reclaim her power.